Hi everyone, I'm Joyce Strong, host of the Totally Well Show. Before we begin, I want to give a big thank you to my mentor, coach, and sponsor of the Totally Well Show, David Meltzer. David is the host of the #1 entrepreneur podcast, The Playbook, a top 100 business coach, author of the #1 new release, Game Time Decision Making, and was named Sports Humanitarian of the Year by Variety. But he prefers to be known as the CEO who goes around helping people. Learn more about David Meltzer at www.dmeltzer.com and text him at 949-298-2905 to get notified when he is in your area hosting a meetup. Follow him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at David Meltzer. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Totally Well Show. Hello everyone, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, and all the things it takes to help you live the highest quality, most fulfilling life. Just a reminder that the Totally Well Show and all the shows here at the Groton Channel are welcoming your sponsorship and as a payment of money or in kind. Opportunities are also available. So reach out to thegrotonchannel.org or to me and we'll tell you more about that. And today I have a return visitor, one of my favorites, Dr. Teri Baydar. Welcome, Teri.
Thank you so much.
Or Dr. Teri. I like to call you Dr. Teri. And Dr. Teri is a leadership development consultant and coach. And her website is www.whitelilycoaching.com.
That's right.
Also known as the CEO Whisperer.
Yep.
And I have a question right at the start, because every time that you've come here on the show, I've been confused about what title you use, and I've been switching my own title around about what I do in my practice. So what does a leadership development consultant and coach do different from, say, an executive coach or a business coach, some of those other general terms I've heard?
Basically, the leadership development part is something that is more internal. It's more of an internal journey. It's more a personal development.
Ah, okay.
If, for example, a lot of executive coaching might do something like what we call a 360. Mm-hmm. And they're going to ask you, people around you, to give input as to what you're doing well, what you're not doing well as an executive or as a leader, with your team, with interpersonal relationships, those sorts of things. And they'll take that critique and try to adapt to the critique and maybe have a 60-day plan about what they're going to do differently. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of exterior stuff, right? Yeah. That's a lot of, I have to comply to this thing out here. Mm-hmm. That's not real leadership development in my sense of what I do. Yeah. Leadership development is knowing how to decide from the inside, be empathetic, be vulnerable sometimes, think from a more higher plane about what's happening in the bigger picture, and what does this person need, what does that person need, and doing it from a very personal standpoint. Mm-hmm. And so I help people develop themselves from the inside and to become more fulfilled and to reach their full potential as a human being rather than just complying to what needs to be done.
So if it's not so connected to a position at a company where they might be an executive, but more, oftentimes I think once you get to a high level, you have no one left to talk to.
Right, exactly.
And to help you to grow. And so you have something else inside you driving for greater things?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's also something why I work so much with C-suites, CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, is because they have nobody to talk to that can raise them up or push them or hold them accountable.
Or who's not afraid of them.
Who's not afraid of them, who doesn't have some kind of vested interest in the back of their mind or some other kind of agenda. My agenda is their fulfillment and their success. So
I love that.
I'm on their team no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what happens,
Yeah.
I'm by their side.
I'm glad I asked that question. It
Good.
just seemed like such an obvious thing, but it wasn't obvious. So thank you for that.
I think it's confusing for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, just the word coach itself is thrown out there, and
Yes.
the different levels of education that we have. Like, you have a very different background
Oh, yeah.
than I have, and we both call ourselves coaches.
And we both have a similar angle.
True, but you're a doctor of divinity, right? Is that
Right.
So that's a very big difference, and the education just under that one piece, and
Yeah.
we just happen to be cool people in common.
There you go.
So today, you brought in a topic for us that will be very helpful for me personally, and for me working with my clients, and hopefully to our listeners, and that is dealing with resistance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's every single day, all the time. So one of the things I've been giving to my clients recently is this little book.
Yeah.
It's The War of Art.
Yeah. Author is?
The author is Stephen Pressfield. Now, he's mostly a fictional author, but he describes his process in overcoming his own demons.
Yeah.
And it's so lovely because some of the pages are just boom, boom.
So quick bullet points.
A quick, straight to the point.
Yeah.
And he takes all of our inner demons and he puts them under one label, resistance.
Okay.
And I love that because I tend to break it all down and be a little bit too expert about it because I study behavior.
Yeah.
And the way he's done that, he just puts everything in one bucket. And it allows a lot of people who are starting out on this journey to just say, oh, that's resistance, and to recognize it and not have to pinpoint, oh, that's this kind of resistance or that kind of resistance. He just dumps it all in. And I think there's so much. Now, he talks a little bit about overcoming the resistance. I think that we could talk about that a little bit more today.
Okay.
And I wrote down a few things that happen. And I know you have this yourself. I have this. Everybody on the planet has this.
Yeah.
Your clients have this. My clients have this. It's for everybody.
Yeah. Why do you think we have resistance?
Oh.
What do you think? Why did we evolve to be doing that thing?
We have resistance because we're seeking comfort. There's a part of, it's our id or our animal self or whatever.
Or safety?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. It's like the lower echelons of Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah.
If you have that. I like to name it your saboteur.
Okay.
It's seeking stability. It wants stability. It doesn't want anything to change. It wants to lay on the couch and, have popcorn and not go anywhere and not even go to the gym. Whether it's going to the gym or, working on a project, we all have that.
Is it always negative? Is it always, resistance always a bad thing?
No, because sometimes resistance, what we might name resistance, might just be a part of ourselves that's being a parent. So one of the things I wrote down here is that I give to my clients to think about and do, is to negotiate with your resistance or your inner toddler. Imagine your inner toddler.
Yeah.
Right? That I just want to eat chocolate for dinner.
Yeah.
And we need to negotiate with it like it's a child.
I'm gonna write down some notes. This is too good to not. Okay.
Okay,
Go on.
Negotiate with your inner toddler as if you're the parent. So a parent part of you is talking to the child part of you to grow up, to deal with it, to be okay with it. Now, I mentioned the saboteur. The saboteur is a little bit different. The saboteur is more than just the inner toddler. It's sort of this personalization of the part of you that doesn't want to take any risk, that wants comfort all the time, complete safety, security, and I know everything that I think I know everything that's going to happen today. So no change. But that actually needs a counterpart, and the counterpart that's also natural is I need adventure, I need excitement, I need change. So we have these two parts. One is coming from a higher part of ourselves, and the other is coming from more of an animal part of ourselves, is I'm just seeking safety. And we need to reason with both parts. And back to your question, sometimes we have that saboteur or inner critic that might be telling us in a bad way, who do you think you are? Okay, that is, that critical, judgy mindset.
Yeah.
Like to keep you from doing anything, to give you doubts so you don't do it. But then there are moments when we can get beyond ourselves, and we do need a little voice that says, hold on, who do you think you are? You can't talk to that person. You have to respect that person. You can't talk to them the way you're doing it. You need to respect them. So it also does have a positive way. The whole point of this kind of work is to take your saboteur, get to know it, train it, so it becomes your inner coach, or a part of your inner coach mechanism.
Yeah. Because you can't, it's not going away. It's always going to be there.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away, but you can accept it, train it, and it becomes more of an adult voice inside that lets you know when maybe you're not behaving according to certain standards that you say you want to have.
Do you have a technique or a name that you give that? I'm just curious if you had any way to frame what you're about to tell me some examples of, I think, of how that might.
I don't have a lot of specific examples. I think once a person starts to visualize it in themselves, they start to recognize it. And it can be, it can show up in lots of different ways.
I can give you examples for me, and then you can tell me how.
Sure.
So one is just going to the gym.
Right.
So I pay for the gym. I like when I get there. But it doesn't take much for me to start to feel some resistance to going.
Right.
And once it gets into my head, it can get challenging. Now I'm in a debate. I'm in an argument with myself about should I, shouldn't I? And it becomes very stressful to me. So that's one example.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great and easy example. What I do for that kind of situation, my suggestion with that is to create kind of a background music around who do you want to be, and what are you willing to give up to become it.
Okay.
So if you're willing to give up TV time to go to the beach, not the beach, but the gym, then you're actually moving towards your goal. If you've decided that that's who you want to be.
So are you saying, is it like that, I've heard this term before, lean into the resistance?
I don't know if that's really leaning in. I think that's more stepping out of the binary conflict of go to the gym, not go to the gym. If you throw that question out and instead say, who do you want to be? Which of these choices is going to...
So you change the question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you change the question. You take it you look at it from a third point of view, from an outside.
Well, now you've got me looking at my vision, my longer term vision, my bigger dream.
Right.
I want to be 18% body fat.
Okay.
I want to be able to button my jacket.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So whatever that is that you're reaching for, you get to look at it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So I always, so that's why I do so much work on purpose and mission, understanding who do you want to be.
Where does that fit in with this bigger, the
Well-
saboteur purpose and mission?
So it's kind of a three-step process. You get a purpose, a mission. You're asking yourself on a regular basis, who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
You have to think about it. You have to stop and think about it. Maybe you
Is
did
that
a-
your, that's your purpose? Is that who do I
Yes.
want to be, that question?
Yeah, who do I
Okay.
want to be? Or what is my goal? Or, whether it's I want to be a writer, or I want to be an athlete, or I want to, even if it's I want to fit into a size 6 dress, I want to be healthy, I want to overcome this challenge. Even those, it doesn't have to be your whole full life mission, but who do I want to be helps keep putting you back in that place. So step 1, have a sense of who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2, what are the boundaries and goals?
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries meaning, what are you willing to give up? Will you give up the TV time, laying on the couch time, to go to the gym and sweat it out?
I like that concept of what are you willing to give up, because it implies something you want that you can't have. So some adult kind of, or at least an acknowledgement. I want it, but I'm going to choose not to do it for a greater reason.
Right.
That's a very adult
Right.
thought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So put on your big girl panties. Get to the gym.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where so step 2 is having your goals and also your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And the boundary meaning, I'm going to set a boundary on how much television I watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Okay. I've done an hour and a half of screen time on the tube.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough. I'm not going to do that anymore because I have to use my time for something that matters to me.
Mm-hmm. 4 times this week at the gym. So a positive thing. Yeah.
Right. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
In this case, the gym.
Yeah.
And because when you set those boundaries without a sense of purpose and mission,
Mm-hmm.
it just adds to the conflict. And the saboteur grabs that inner critic starts to wreak havoc around that. Oh, who do you think you are? You're not going to go 4 times to the gym. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can go 4 times to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually are in touch with your purpose,
Yeah.
you can. You're excited.
Yeah.
Because oh, well, that's my path. That's my journey. I'm going to claim that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go there.
It seems to me, I wanted to hear what step 3 is, because you
Yes.
said there's step 3, then I had another question after.
So step 3 is believing in yourself and the mission. That's kind of what I was feeding into right there.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that you belong. You belong here on the planet called Earth, that we all have a place. You belong.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling that you don't belong, then there's a couple things you need to adjust,
Mm-hmm.
but you belong. And
Mhm.
you have to have that mindset.
Is it just an acceptance, or maybe because you believe I belong, that's good enough for now?
That's part of it. But we tend to put ourselves, again, that's the saboteur who gets a hold of us and doesn't want us to go further on our evolutionary journey.
Yeah.
Saboteur just wants to sit on the couch and just be safe. But then this being safe is cultivating all sorts of fear and doubt and living in this spiral that just takes us in the other direction, downwards. So believing that you belong can also sort of unhinge that a little bit. No, I belong in the world. I have things to do here. And when you know you belong, you can also talk down your saboteur, like the inner critic or the we call it saboteur or inner child, whatever, or inner toddler, whatever you want to, however you want to picture it. It's all part of that, pulling down force. Whereas you want to be with you want to merge with that force moving up. towards something more.
And David Meltzer mentions that, I think, in how fast we vibrate. He uses it.
Yes.
It's like the truth vibrates the fastest, he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things he says often. My question back, now that I understand the 3 steps, that process is, it for me and also for people I coach, sometimes I'm coaching somebody who I think is at a very high level in business, in their life. They're very intelligent, way smarter than I am, and yet they need, it seems like from one week to the next. I just saw you last week and you've forgotten this? Like, how much do we have to remind ourselves or get this to, is it practice? What is it?
That's a couple of good things there. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, right?
I do
It's
get
just
what you're saying, because I have this,
like-
I work with CEOs, and they're very busy. They're accomplishing so much. They're like this, kind of like an octopus with all these delegating arms and things going on, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is the actual delegating arms. Sometimes for people who are high performers,
Yeah.
they're out here doing all of this. This they understand. They understand moving things around.
Yeah.
And making stuff happen.
Yeah.
What they're not looking at is this. They're not checking in with their feelings. They're not listening to their body. They haven't developed that part of themselves. You're absolutely right. So I find people who are, I work with super performing individuals. I mean, like off the charts. And people who are even some, I have a couple clients who are even ADD. And they're like, and they've used their ADD to go
To advantage, yeah.
to advantage, because
Yeah.
they're like, you know, it's like Superman or Wonder Woman. They get so much done in a day. It's like, oh, wow.
That's another David Meltzer trait, by the way.
Right?
He's a master of his calendar. He can cram
Right.
so much in. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is another side to life, which happens inside us, which is it's the energy source of who we are. If we start to ignore our body, we don't refine our listening and our sensitivity to our mind, to our body, to our thoughts, to our feelings, to get to know ourselves inside ourselves, that's a slippery slope.
And have our needs met.
Right.
Yeah.
So that can come out in all sorts of behavior.
But it seems to me that this stuff, the arms, it was a great image, the octopus, like, but it can keep you out there so that you, because this felt like vulnerable, scary, and if
Right.
you haven't ever dealt with that,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So in what I do, I deal sometimes with what we call empty suit syndrome.
Ooh,
Right.
I've never heard that term.
Yes. Empty suit syndrome is somebody walking around doing everything out here, but they've completely lost touch with themselves. And emotional intelligence has four pillars, 4 traits. The first is self-awareness, and the second is self-regulation. So the first 2 things you have to do is know yourself and regulate yourself. That's what we're talking about, regulating and knowing ourselves, dealing with our own resistance, our own mind trips, our own stories, good or bad, and managing them. Then the other 2 pillars are knowing, being aware of others, and then regulating the relationship between self and other.
Okay.
Pretty simple. But if this is what you're doing out here all the time, and you're not spending any time or energy here, I like to call it like the longest 18 inches on the planet between the head and the heart,
Yeah.
because it's so much work that we forget about. If you're not doing this, you've got no first-hand experiential knowledge, know-how of what it means to be a human being. And you've got to do that.
I've heard so many stories of people that have been financially, blockbusters, big success there, who are incredibly unhappy.
Yes.
It's like this story about the man. I heard a story about a man who was so poor, all he had was money. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can happen when all you focus on is out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what difference does it make then for people and I like how you talked about it, dealing with resistance, because it's not going away. So it's not curing it or overcoming it. You're leveraging it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're transforming it, you're accepting it. I like the inner toddler because if you have a toddler, you have a toddler. You've got to deal with the toddler.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to walk around the room and tear things up and pull things down and get into trouble.
Yeah.
So you need to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I have more of a softer approach. You know, in the War of Art and in a lot of other leadership coaches might be a little more hard hitting. I tend to be a soft hitter. I hit hard with precision at certain points in time, but I work really here with the person very deeply, and we just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's kind of you have to stay soft if you really want to go that deep. So I don't do any like 360s or have people give them input, or executive coaches can go do that.
So a person could have more than one kind of a coach
Absolutely.
to help them.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I have several.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, the different approaches and how they can all be helpful. But yeah, I know Rich Litvin. I don't know if you know him. He's a coach. He calls himself a coach. But he has this technique or term he uses he calls coaching, you want to play. And then he says hot seat. He uses that term.
Yeah.
And he's very careful about, and his coaching might last for 5 minutes or for an hour, but depending on how quickly we get there and what needed to happen next.
Yeah.
So that's what you remind me of that sense of hot seat of being, because it's hot.
It is.
Which is why we haven't dealt with it. Dr. Teri, I really thank you for coming today. We're out of time, but I'd love to do a second part with you. Can you hang around and do another show?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank
Love
you.
being here.
Yeah.